Welcome all in all. Hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe. It's Thursday, June the 4th. As you can see, we're inside today. It's raining here this morning, so I've had to come inside and get out of the rain. Apologies again for the lighting. My little lighting set hasn't arrived yet. I'm hoping it will shortly, so if we have to do this again, I should be well lit up. Usual stuff to start with. US cases, pretty flat at the moment. There was a bit of a spike in Florida yesterday. I don't know whether that's just a trend and it comes down again. I'm keeping an eye on it. There was reports on it, but nothing really said that was conclusive. Florida did go into, it was announced yesterday by Governor DeSantis that Florida will go into phase 2 reopening on Friday. He presented a lot of slides on that and signed an executive order yesterday. That's Executive Order 20139 was signed into law yesterday. So I've got all the slides from his presentation that goes through the detail of what that means for Florida. That excludes Miami Dade, Broward and Palm Beach. They're the counties that have had the most cases and still continue to have the most cases. So they won't be included in this initial phase 2 reopening. They'll have to get special dispensation from local authorities. Bars and pubs can now open. They haven't been able to do that before, and movie theatres can also now open. Stores and restaurants can now open at 100% capacity as long as they keep social distancing. So it won't be 100% capacity if you have to keep 6 feet between tables or parties. There's been no mention about theme parks in this executive order, and that's because the theme parks get special dispensation to govern themselves along with liaison with their local authorities. So obviously Universal Orlando opened yesterday to the public, so it really went around phase 2 and opened a little early, but only as it turns out 3 days. So that's why there's no mention of theme parks in the executive order. The curfew in Orange County was extended in downtown Orlando yesterday to start at 8 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. and that's in order to quell any violence that might occur after dark. And Universal Orlando obviously opened yesterday to the public. I've got a couple of pictures about how social distancing looks in that park. It looks quite weird. Cast members are being recalled to several resort hotels in Disney, and that's really to work on the restaurants and in housekeeping. So I've got the details of that. That doesn't mean that Disney have released any details of when the resort hotels might be open. They haven't. Cinderella's castle is undergoing a bit of a makeover. You'll see a picture of that. And then finally, the NBA looks like it struck a deal with Disney to come to Disney World to start the season again on July the 31st, going through to October the 12th. And it looks like its chosen venue is Coronado Springs, which I thought it might be some time ago. So only one resort by the look of it. I thought it might be more than one if families were going to come as well, but it looks like only one resort. Again, Disney have not put anything out there to say that resorts are going to be open prior to July the 11th, but I hope they will be. And we don't know whether it's going to be all of them or some of them, depending on demand, I guess. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you'll get this stuff still 6 days a week at the moment. I keep thinking there's going to be a lack of news, and then bang, something happens, something big happens, and here I am again. So I'm likely to be here again tomorrow and Saturday. I do take some days off if I can. But yeah, please, do subscribe, hit the notification bell. And now, let's go to the news. New cases in the US yesterday was 20,578, and we had 1,083 deaths. There does appear to be a pattern emerging, with the lowest number of deaths recorded on a Sunday and the highest peak in midweek. The peaks do look, though, like they're getting lower each week. In Florida yesterday we had 1,317 new cases. That's the highest daily number since April the 17th. 36 deaths were recorded yesterday. Governor Ron DeSantis held a press briefing yesterday and announced that Florida will move into phase 2 reopening on Friday. He signed Executive Order 20139 yesterday afternoon. This new executive order excludes the counties of Miami Dade, Broward and Palm Beach, where over half of all cases in Florida have been recorded. In order for those 3 counties to move into phase 2, their county mayor or county administrator will have to request permission from Governor DeSantis. As part of Governor DeSantis' presentation, some general guidance was given. Restaurants can now allow bar-top seating, and bars and pubs which were up to now closed can open at 50% capacity. with full capacity outside as long as social distancing is maintained. Stores which were at 50% capacity can now reopen at 100% capacity, again as long as social distancing is maintained. Gyms which were allowed to reopen in full phase 1 can now operate at full capacity again with appropriate social distancing. Movie theatres have been closed up until now, but they can now reopen at 50% capacity. Pari-mutuel or bookmakers can request to open from the DBPR, if endorsed by their county mayor or county administrator. Tattoo parlours, which had been closed up until now, can now return to operation, and I believe with that, that's every business now in Florida can reopen. A simple chart was provided to show the drop in statewide COVID-positive ICU hospitalizations, and that number's dropped by 50% since April the 12th. This slide shows how Florida will move successfully through phase 2, and bullet point 5 states that we're going to prevent introduction from outside of the state. Currently, people arriving from the tri-state area and Louisiana have to self-quarantine for 14 days, but no other details were given yesterday. One part of Governor DeSantis' plan has been to increase walk-up testing in underserved areas, and some drive-through sites are also in operation. Drive-through antibody testing for first responders has also been introduced, although there is no scientific data available to say that antibodies do give immunity. The 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew mandated in Orange County has now been extended to start at 8 p.m. in downtown Orlando. This is to stop the trouble which seems to start after dark. Universal Orlando Parks opened yesterday to annual pass holders and resort guests only. Here's how social distancing is working on Rip Ride Rocket, and this photograph was taken outside Blues Brothers, where you can see the blue social distancing markers on the ground. At Disney World, some cast members have been recalled to work at restaurants in some of the resort hotels. Housekeeping has also been recalled to a number of hotels, although no details of when resorts might reopen have been released by Disney. While the parks are empty, Disney has taken the opportunity to repaint Cinderella's castle in Magic Kingdom. The turrets will be blue, while the rest of the castle will be rose pink, and it's expected that this work will be complete by the time the park opens on July the 11th. It looks like it's been agreed that the NBA and Disney have agreed that the NBA will complete their season at Walt Disney World, and that the teams will be housed at Coronado Springs. They are looking for a start on July the 31st and a completion by October the 12th. Teams will start arriving before July the 12th, so it's unlikely that Coronado Springs will be available to guests until mid-October. So yeah, US cases still trending fairly flat, no big spikes in the US, which is good news. Florida, there's a trend, I think. It seems to be low in the early days of the week, higher in the middle, and then go down again. That's got to be something to do with reporting rather than actual cases. Look, I'm still giving you these cases because I think it's important, but are they accurate day to day? I'm not quite sure. But as long as they give the overall picture, and that 7-day trend line helps, I think. So I'll keep doing that. Moving into phase 2 Friday. So we're pretty much back to normal now then in all the stores. Everything's open now. Tattoo parlors, bars, everything can open from Friday. So that's it. That's everything. So it's now really down to those establishments and we, the public, to take care of ourselves. If we stay within that social distancing rule of 6 feet, or outside that social distancing rule of 6 feet, then I think we'll do okay. There's going to be more testing, or supposed to be more testing in Florida. That may come up with more positives, which may then look like we've got a bigger problem than we might have. We've done pretty well, I think, in phase 1. So if people are sensible in phase 2, we should be okay in phase 2 again. The exclusion of Miami-Dade, Broward and Palm Beach, I think, was always going to happen. They're still struggling a little bit. They do have more than half the cases of COVID-19 in Florida, and I hope that they get their act together fairly soon so that they can move into phase 2 also. And there was mention of the tri-state area, well, not per se, but stopping the coronavirus coming from outside of Florida is going to be massively important, especially now with the influx of people that are going to come in due to the theme parks reopening again. So exactly how Florida, how Governor DeSantis is going to do that, I don't know. More flights are going to come in. People self-quarantine. There's no law. Well, there is a law, but there's no police officer or anybody going around to people's houses taking names and temperatures and making sure people are self-isolating. So it's going to be difficult, and we're going to see how that happens, and that's without any international travel right now. Still no international travel restrictions lifted or any news of that. So I still don't think that's going to happen for a little while yet, and hopefully by the time it does, every country that is on the list to be able to come in will be way past their peak and have implemented their own regimes in terms of stopping the virus spreading any further. So the curfew was extended. That was kind of new news yesterday, 8 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. by the police. The protests do seem to turn a little bit ugly once night falls, which is around 8:30. So they're trying to get people off the streets by 8 o'clock now in downtown. And I don't know of any arrests that were made. Well, I believe there were some arrests made, but that was simply for breaking curfew rather than throwing rocks or any violence or anything else that was happening around that time. So I hope that's good news. I hope that the protests, if they continue, remain peaceful in the daylight hours, and then people go back home and there's no news of further outbreaks of violence or roads being blocked or anything like that. Universal Orlando opened. I didn't hear any horror stories about social distancing or massive queues. I know there was queues to get in, as there would have been, and you know that people have to take the temperatures and stuff like that. So yeah, there is going to be that issue about getting in. But from what I saw in the parks yesterday, it seemed well organised, and I had no doubt that would be. Universal are good. From what I saw at City Walk when I went there the first day, all seemed well. Cast members being recalled to some Disney resorts, that's good news. It doesn't mean that those restaurants are going to be open whilst the resorts rooms themselves are not open. It doesn't mean that we're going to get back to resorts being open at all prior to July the 11th, but it might mean that if they're going back now in very early June and the resorts aren't open the parks aren't due to reopen until July the 11th, that could be very good news, but nothing announced by Disney yet. Cinderella's castle is going to look very different by the time we get back into the parks on July the 11th. It's undergoing a complete facade makeover with those blue turrets and rose pink facade generally. That's going to look different to what it has been. And then Coronado Springs, and I thought this a little time ago, would be the venue for the NBA teams to be put up in, just because it's out on the periphery and it's near the 429 toll road, so easy to get in and out without causing a fuss with people that might be in Disney Springs. So yeah, July to October, mid-October. So it looks like that's not going to be, that hotel is not going to be one of the hotels that reopens for park opening, and it looks like no guests are going to be staying there other than NBA teams until mid-October. No news yet on which hotels might be open. And if you've got a hotel, it could be consolidated into another one in the value, mid and deluxe ranges. No news on that yet, but could happen. Okay, so that is the news for today. Thanks for joining me. I'll probably see you again tomorrow. Until then, take care. See you then. Bye-bye.